This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Time for the mailbag. Time to hear what you have to talk about this week as we close the book on Bad Blood and as we look ahead to the Crown Jewel event that is taking place November 3rd, November 2nd, something around there. And beloved or hate it, that's the next PLE. We'll get through it, and then we'll get back to the PLEs that we all love, and starting with Survivor Series at the end, very tail end of November. I believe it's the 30th. So before we get into that, though, there's news that has just come out, and this is from several credible wrestling sources on Twitter and other websites, that The Rock has said that he is not going to be able to make WrestleMania 41 this year. Now, Dave Meltzer, for whatever stock you put into him, does say the opposite, that he will be at WrestleMania 41. I think, and I hope that this is just a ruse. If this is true, now let's for a moment pretend The Rock isn't going to be at WrestleMania 41 and what we're hearing is true. Okay, let's just go that road first. If that's true, that means that they're going to get out of the way The Rock and Cody Rhodes probably at Survivor Series or Rumble. They're going to get rid of that event, and it's not going to be not get rid of it, but they're going to put it out for us to see on a non-WrestleMania event. And I'm all for that. I've been for that even if The Rock isn't able to make WrestleMania 41. Okay, and does it also put cold water on my hope for a Stone Cold Stunner on The Rock? Yeah, kind of. I mean, Austin stunning The Rock seems to be only a WrestleMania moment and should have happened last year. No excuses. So if The Rock isn't able to make it, then okay, pretend he's out of WrestleMania 41. Where does that put Cody Rhodes? Where does that put Roman Reigns? Is he going to face Solo Sikoa for the next 5-6 months? What happens? Randy Orton and Cody. Okay, pretend that happens. What about Roman? Where's he going? You know, it just throws a wrench into a lot of our projections forward. And is that necessarily a bad thing? No. You know why? Because the last 4 WrestleManias, we've been able to see the main event 8 months out. Now, last year was a conundrum with we don't know what they're going to do because of the crowd reaction and the backlash of The Rock taking Cody's spot and all that. But for the better part of 4 years, we've been able to kind of see, okay, this one's going to win the Rumble. This person, we kind of knew. And this year, it's like, okay, if The Rock doesn't come in and he's here for just till Rumble season and then leaves, to me that doesn't make sense. Okay, but if that happens, it'll be a big disappointment. Because otherwise, what's he doing here? You're presumably here, off and on, from now until WrestleMania 41. And also, how can you not clear your schedule ahead of time? You've had how long to talk about this long journey? And we heard all about it last year, that this is going to be a long-term story. We're just getting started. On and on we heard. So if The Rock suddenly, his heavy workload, how many times have we heard that crap? And I say crap. Obviously, the dude has a zillion projects going on. He is a ultra busy man, but if this is truly one of your passions, truly one of the things that you tell us that you want to do to give back to fans, what are you doing? I don't want to hear about movies. I don't want to hear about the XFL. You're the effing Rock. You're Dwayne Johnson. You should be able to clear your schedule as needed. And it's not like this just came up. This has been something that you could have way ahead of time said, hey, I'm clearing these dates out for wrestling. Everything else takes takes a second back seat, right? In this case, if that's true, then The Rock, I'm done hearing about this. How many WrestleManias have we heard about in the last 5 years that The Rock was supposed to come back? He was going to face Roman Reigns, but he couldn't. Then he finally can, and then the fans reject it because it's Cody's year. And now we're back to WrestleMania 41, and now he can't because, his workload again. If this is true, what the hell? And how many more WrestleMania chances are we going to get here? The Rock is not a spring chicken. He's prone to injury, even in his incredible shape. His age is what it is. He can't escape the basics of aging. Physics, biology are going to catch up to him. And how many more times are we going to be able to say that, oh, Roman and Rock could happen this year, Roman and Rock could happen this year? If this is a scenario in which we never get Roman Rock, which is very plausible, given how many detours we've taken, and we're starting, we're stopping, we're going to do it. Oh, Rock schedule, WrestleMania 37. Oh, can't do it. Oh, wait, WrestleMania 40. Oh, wait, can, but we're going to go Cody instead. How many more times are we going to get this opportunity? The opportunities are fleeting here. And I feel like I'm back in the Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey story, where if you think back to Ronda's career in WWE, which had its moments, I'm not a Ronda Rousey fan, as you know. I think she was overrated. She had an attitude problem. She's immature. She had a lot of heat backstage. She at times was really unlikable as a babyface, all that. But the fact that we never got a one-on-one Becky Lynch-Ronda Rousey matchup, which was supposed to happen at Survivor Series a number of years ago and was derailed because of the broken nose by Nia Jax, but that led to the man and the infamous image, so it all kind of worked out. But at the end of the day, we never got a one-on-one Becky and Ronda match. Never. How is that possible? How the hell did we never get that? And then when you finally get it at WrestleMania, what, 35? Because that was the year before the beloved silent WrestleMania. We get Charlotte Flair being injected because Vince McMahon wanted her in the main event for the first ever women's WrestleMania main event. And she was strong-armed into it when she had no business being into it. And we get a really kind of a sloppy finish. If you remember, the finish was kind of odd. But Becky Lynch wins. And yeah, I guess she faced her, but not one-on-one. One-on-one is a different animal. Different animal. So is it going to be one of those scenarios where, okay, you get Rock Roman. Okay, let's go down the road, by the way, of Rock. This is all just a ruse. He's actually going to be at WrestleMania 41, which I think is a little more plausible. Then you have a situation of, okay, this has got to be Rock Roman this year. After we've been talking about it for like 6 years, this has got to be the one, right? Because Cody had Roman last year. Rock gets Roman this year. We finally get the effing dream match. And I feel like Cody is now playing the role of Charlotte Flair, because that's the other story that's been floating around this week. Is this is going to be a triple threat. The idea of a triple threat of Roman, Rock, Cody at WrestleMania has been floated around. And again, taking the second piece here of if The Rock is truly doing it and it's just a red herring and WWE is just purposely leaking this, even though it's not true, which is, again, I think a little bit more plausible, then again, I don't want Cody in it. Rock Roman, as I've said, for years, literally like 5, 6, 7 years, Rock Roman does not and should not have a title on the line. It would actually detract from the event, the match, because it's not about championships with those two. It's about family. It's about personal issue. The title would detract from what is actually important, which is family issues. Who's the true tribal chief of the family? Who's the leader? Who's the man, so to speak? That is what that is about. It's a long-term story arc. They could draw back all the way to WrestleMania. To Rumble of 2015 with those two. There's a lot they could do. And I don't think Cody being injected that would be better. So I wanted to get that off my chest and talk to you guys about it, because it's been something that has been making the rounds this week, and I haven't had a chance to really give my thoughts on it, with the triple threat being on the table for WrestleMania. And now the latest is The Rock's not even going to be at WrestleMania 41, giving you both of my perspectives for both scenarios. So with that all being said, let's get to your thoughts, because that's what this is about, as I selfishly take up time. So let's talk to Freeman. He says, Bad Blood was an incredible PLE, 10 out of 10, possibly best of the year. But it had one glaring flaw. Why wasn't Punk versus Drew the main event? It absolutely deserved that spot. The crowd was on fire, and the match itself was pure chaos. After something that intense, where do you go from there? Watching regular matches after that felt underwhelming in comparison. Everything was downhill once it ended. Well, easy answer, Freeman. And it's The Rock. I had said prior to this event that if you're going to have The Rock return, a big clue to that would be the positioning of that tag team match with Cody and Roman versus Solo and Jacob Fatu. And since that was the main event, it was a big clue as to they're going to have a big return at the end of that. And they did with Jimmy, but it was overshadowed by The Rock. I mean, people forget Jimmy returned. It felt very much like Randy returning at Survivor Series, and then Punk won up to immediately after by returning himself. It kind of felt like that. It's like, oh yeah, Jimmy returned. Where last Survivor Series, we're like, oh yeah, Randy returned. We forgot because Punk won up him and The Rock won up Jimmy this year. So That's the reason. They wanted to go off the air with a massive moment, and they got it. I get why they put the tag team match as the main event, especially for the Rock surprise, but even that felt like a low point after watching Drew practically bleed out in the ring. It's no wonder the crowd fell flat. After seeing the carnage and all the drama in Punk versus Drew, what else could they cheer for? That match gave us everything they wanted and could have wanted. We might as well have just gone home. Nothing was going to beat that match. Well, no, nothing was going to beat that match. It's hard to follow a match like that. They certainly, in a lot of circles, probably do feel that it could have been and should have been the main event of that show. The storyline certainly, I think, even superseded Roman and Cody's storyline with the Bloodline. They got the better story. They, I think, easily had the better match. That match with Drew and Punk was I wouldn't say go too far as to say it is match of the year candidate, at least in the running. It was great. The storyline was excellent. Nothing but flowers for both men. As for the Crown Jewel Championship, I think it's a mistake and poorly timed. The champion versus champion concept sounds exciting in theory, but in practice, it feels like something WWE is going to struggle to promote well. For one, it ruins the suspense of upcoming title matches. They tried to make us believe Sammy had a shot at the IC title, but the moment they showed Gunther on the poster, we all knew the result. Let's be honest. That lazy Photoshop of Sammy over Gunther didn't fool anyone. If Sammy had any real chance of winning, they would have put more effort into it. Well, yeah, Sami Zayn... We knew Sami Zayn, we kind of know what he is now. He's the guy that they can shove into the main event. He'll win the IC or US title every now and then. We're going to be sold the idea that Sami can do it because he's the underdog from the underground. He overachieves. He never stops fighting. He always gets up. All the typical tropes and nonsense that we hear. But he's never going to be the guy. So no matter how much they try to sell it to me, I don't believe it. They've shown it time and again and time and again and time and again where they put him in the match. He'll have a good promo. He's good for a great match. And that's kind of where it ends. And then Sammy's going to be kicked back to the upper mid card, which is exactly what's going to happen here. So, plus the matches themselves weren't that thrilling. Nia versus Liv didn't make much sense, or doesn't. It's heel versus heel, and the crowd won't be behind either of them. And while Gunther versus Cody will likely be a great match, it feels like we've seen it before. I'm not sure why, but it feels like familiar ground. This is going to be a recurring problem with the Crown Jewel Championship. Brand separation exists for a reason, and now they're blurring the lines in a way that might backfire. No, I don't think it's going to backfire because fans are used to and almost expect WWE to violate their own brand rules. I'm a big nerd when it comes to them adhering to their own rules. They put the ground rules out, and then they say, well, we can bend them because we made them. And they're saying, well, the fans don't care. They just want the best match. No, I actually believe that, sure, best matches are an argument, but also it undermines your entire premise for a brand split, I think, which most fans don't care about. I understand, but I do. Yeah, and Gunther, Cody, have we seen that before? Yeah, I mean, the last time I can remember them having did they have a match prior to the ending of the Royal Rumble 2 years ago? I think they have. But, all right. Thanks, Freeman. By the way, if you guys want to get priority placement in the show, as a patron, you can get that, meaning you get your emails read at the beginning before any of the other non-patrons do. Patreon.com/WWE podcast gets you in the door for that, and on top of everything we do ad-free. Okay, let's get to it. And we're going to let's go to Dino. He says, with my predictions, I was right with 3 out of 5, and my percentage of a 45% chance of The Rock return is now justified. I'm not so sure how they have decided to fill our third hour on Mondays and with what's basically the post show, but I like the concept. And after having listened to the Raw review, is Sexy Red not a wrestler? I don't watch NXT, but I knew of her and I genuinely thought she was an up and coming star, but by the sounds of your Raw review, she's a singer or celebrity or something. I find her annoying. In any case, she's just awful. Yeah, I mean, she's terrible. Of course, everybody has got their own taste in music and culture and all that. But I am not a fan. Not a fan of her presence. I think WWE looks like trash, and I will say that with confidence and triple down on. They look trashy aligning with her because she is not exactly I'll leave it at that. I don't like her music, and that's all. I'll leave it at that. All right. So Not my thing. If you like sexy red, cool, but it feels like it's way beneath WWE to take pictures with this woman. All right. And some of you are saying, oh, it's because she's black or because she's a woman. No, I don't care if it's a dude. I don't care if Machine Gun Kelly, which, by the way, I do not like. I think he's kind of in the same category of just looking like trash. Okay. So Machine Gun Kelly would be in the same category for me. The whole bodily tattoo and homelessness look, I don't like it. All right. This is just my opinion, right? So sure, racist claims, take it away. I don't really care. All right, move on. So we got, as every week passes, the words PFR appearing on the screen are getting more and more obvious. And I'm curious as to what this is all about. Hopefully we don't need to wait much longer. I have no clue. No clue. This is where I hope that you guys are doing your research. I'm leaning on you guys to make me look good. I don't have a damn clue. Don't know. I really hope we don't get Cody versus Kevin again. As you may already know, I'm kind of the guy who only needs to see most matches once. Well, we're probably going to get it. We're probably going to get it, and it's probably going to happen at Crown Jewel. There's no chance of Kevin winning. I was of the belief that he's the least interesting to turn heel, at least against Cody. If he wants to turn heel, that's fine, but not against Cody, because we've been there, done that. We just saw them compete in a match at the last PLE. You knew Kevin Owens doesn't have a chance. He's in the same boat, really, as Sami Zayn, his best friend. They're both guys that never are going to be the top guy, can compete for top titles, but are never really there to win them. They're there to help make the current champion look good, give them formidable opponents, help them cut good promos, but they're never the ones to actually take the championship. Sami and Kevin are right now in kind of identical spots. But if you're only one that likes to see matches once, well, you're going to run out of combinations real quick. Your attention span is pretty slim. You must get bored pretty quickly, Dino. But all right, hearing you speak, you're the kind of guy that all about the storylines and slow-paced matches and less of the actual high-flying and fast-paced stuff. Generally, yes. But I have to say, I don't want that all the time. Just like I don't want the all the time fast-paced 100 miles an hour gymnastics that a lot of the matches are. It's overwhelmingly that. I like a diverse taste of wrestling. I don't mind those kinds of matches, and that's why you have cruiserweight divisions. That's why you had, was it 401 Live, or I can't remember. There's a whole show dedicated to cruiserweights back in the day that's defunct now. That's why you have main event. And that kind of wrestling absolutely can exist and should exist. My point about it is generally I like that wrestling more, but I don't want it all of the stories and all the matches that way. That's too much. So I like kind of a mix is really what I'm saying. It's just overwhelming right now. Fast-paced gymnastics. All right. Well, to be honest, I think I'm the opposite kind of fan. Don't get me wrong. I think stories are important and I like a good story, but I get bored real quick with the slow-paced stuff. Not the Hell in a Cell type match we've seen Saturday, but I do prefer some awesome matches with some of wow factor that Ricochet brought, for example. But if a slow-paced match has a good build and really good storyline, I do like that as well in that case. Yeah, so in a way, you and I are kind of in the same boat where we don't mind it if the story dictates it. Also, I don't want guys like Ricochet, and I have no love lost for him. I think he acts like he's 14 years old. I mean, as a person, I think he's extremely immature. He acts like a child on Twitter, and he is super sensitive and all this stuff that you don't want guys in public spaces to be like, especially if they're representing your company. But my point about his wrestling style is I don't want Ricochet working like a big man. Makes no sense. But you're seeing today big men trying to work like guys half their size. I mean, because they recognize that right now that's the style that's in. That's a style that gets the "this is awesome" chance. But in those cases, I say, here's what I say. General rule, wrestle how you look, right? If you're a guy that is Drew McIntyre's size, incredibly muscular, tall, but athletic, wrestle like that, right? This means no high-flying stuff, ground-based attacks, power moves. That's what you should do because it allows diversity throughout the pro wrestling matches. You're seeing guys like, remember Ivar doing like moonsaults and stuff? Yeah, that was kind of crazy, but also you're doing everything that everyone else is doing. It's nice to have a change of taste, rather cleanse your palate is what I'm looking for. When it comes to wrestling match, to like going back to back to back, I don't need every wrestling match with every guy trying to do the same moves. So if you are like the Big Show, wrestle like the Big Show. If you're Nia Jax, wrestle like Nia Jax. I don't need Nia Jax wrestling like Caden Carter. Okay. Lastly, if I remember correctly, I'm sure you once said either you or your wife was interested in true crime podcast. Well, I have a recommendation. If your true crime is your thing, go check out Crime Monthly Presents Evil Uncovered. It's a true crime podcast by Bauer Media, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. The picture for it has the words crime presents in red writing and evil uncovered in white writing at the bottom, and the background of a picture is beneath the surface of water. I've just started it and already can't get enough. I've listened to the first 3 episodes, so if you're into true crime, you'll love this one. That's all. Thanks, Dino. I'll check it out. My wife is really big into that. She loves true crime. Oh man, big into that. Big into like horror movies, Scream series, all that stuff. She's a horror. Like right now, this time of year is like her Christmas. You know, with all the Halloween and Jason, all the stuff, and true crime. Yeah, so I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Okay, let's go to James from Scotland. And he says, hope everyone's doing well. It's been a few weeks since I last wrote in. I thought Bad Blood was a very good PLE. I'm a big fan of the less matches, more quality approach. However, one thing I was disappointed was that Drew lost to Punk. Drew is now 0-3 at Hell in a Cell. Where do you see him go from here? I can't see him being in the title picture going forward, but I do hope creative keeps him in mind as a heel. That is a good question. I think Drew, like Punk, is taking time off. Things will reset for him either at Crown Jewel or just after. Both men deserve time off. I don't need to see Drew for the next 4 weeks. Let his body and his mind recover legitimately. Same with Punk. Both men need to stay home. And when they both return, I don't want them interacting at all. They're done. Their program is done. They have completed a very successful, very enjoyable story from January till a week ago. So props to both men, but they need to stay away. Now, where do they go? Punk, I think, as I said, goes to Gunther. And I think perhaps you have Drew go after Seth, maybe. I mean, again, or Jey Uso. But I feel like we've been down that road too. Drew's an interesting one. Drew is a very interesting character. One that I actually wouldn't mind a trade to SmackDown. He could, I think, potentially be a better fit over on SmackDown. But for now, that's probably where they go. I mean, who else is he going to work with? Who else is he going to work with on there? If he, again, assuming he stays a heel, and I think he should, that's kind of it as far as that. And yeah, you're not going to have him compete with Gunther yet either. And I guess there's an outside chance you could have him compete in a triple threat with Gunther and Punk. But I don't want Punk and Drew. We've been there. So, talking about heels, after 10 years, we finally got a New Day story, and I 100% can get behind it. I've been bored of them since 2016, and we finally have time to see Woods as a heel. Yes. Hallelujah. Now, it hasn't officially happened. Like, they're not Facebook official, as people would say today, but it's close enough where if they don't pull this off, I mean, where the hell are we going? What are they doing? It's got to be a heel turn, an official one, not a tease of, we got you, we're still brothers, and let's all make out in the ring. Come on, Big E, come on in the ring for our 10-year, and let's all, I was going to say something super inappropriate, but finish the sentence. Ready? I don't want them all circle blanking each other. All right? Blank. That blank, we all know what it is, but I can't say it on the PG show here. But I don't want them doing that in the middle of the ring for a lot of reasons. Namely, it's now burned in my head, and it's kind of a really gross image. Okay. I never thought I'd bring that image up today. Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's go to DJ Kuzmo. He says it's time for the aftermath of Bad Blood. How's everyone feeling? We made it through one of the absolute best, gruesome, and bloody Hell in a Cell matches in recent memory. This match had great storytelling, and most importantly, blood, and more blood. Are we just bloodthirsty wrestling fans that kind of love this insane madness? Anyway, this rivalry of Punk and Drew has finally come to an end, but the Rumble's on the horizon, and all the way it's not until February. Is it possible that there's going to be some sort of interaction with Punk and Drew, that they brawl again, or do they go their separate ways? Well, DJ, I didn't know your email was coming, but I kind of answered that at length just a minute or two ago. Short answer, no, we don't need it. There's nowhere to go from here. You know, where do they even go? Say they want a fourth match. What are they doing? An Inferno match? A Buried Alive match? A death match? I mean, that's the next step, which I don't need any of them doing. It's over. That was the rubber match. A very traditional, nicely done, perfectly executed finish. It's over. It's over. Seriously, unless they're actually going to pretend that one's going to kill the other, there's nowhere else to go. So it's over. Punk most likely feuding with Rollins, while McIntyre could possibly go after Gunther for the world title. I actually think it's the opposite, DJ. The same, because I think Punk and Rollins is still going to be WrestleMania 41. And Punk did declare last month that he was going after Gunther for the world title before McIntyre attacked him. So the same championship that McIntyre wanted so desperately this year at WrestleMania, but once again, Punk was in his way. Could next year be the year that Drew finally becomes world champion as a babyface? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I think that's very possible. But I want to see what this heel run brings Drew. I want to see how far we can go as a heel. I don't need them rushing Drew back to being a babyface. I don't. Plus, we just got Seth back. He's a big babyface. The babyface roster on Raw isn't in terrible shape. I think they've got some big ones there. I would actually like to see Gunther as a babyface before we turn Drew back. I don't think they'll do it. Both men, honestly, I wouldn't change them for a long time. I wouldn't. I mean, unless circumstances are dire and you have to have somebody big as a babyface turn, I would leave Drew alone. Why? I mean, arguably, he's had the best run of his career as a heel. Most of his career has still been as a babyface. We saw him as a babyface champion for how many years? So I want to see, there's more to this Drew character with him being a heel than the babyface. He exhausted all avenues there. We kind of know who and what he is through and through as a babyface, but as a heel, it's been much more interesting. While watching this Hell in a Cell from this past Saturday, I got a flashback from 20 years ago at 2004 Bad Blood with Triple H versus Shawn Michaels at Hell in a Cell, which was the main event, as that heated rivalry between Triple H and HBK rekindled right after WrestleMania 20 for their world title rematch for the world title at Backlash. If you haven't seen it or have seen that match in a long time, I highly recommend it. If I'm not mistaken, that match went almost 50 minutes. It's kind of a coincidence that 20 years later, Bad Blood returns and we get an insane Hell in a Cell classic of Punk and Drew. DJ Kuzma signing off. Have a great weekend. See you all in the Discord chat for Friday Night SmackDown, and let's go Mets. Yeah, hell of a job with the Mets there. How about a Subway Series, DJ? You want it? I mean, we're both only one step away. Yankees got to defeat either Detroit or Cleveland, and you guys got to take out either the Padres or the Dodgers. Not an easy task, but this is the closest we've been to a Subway Series. My God, in 24 years since the last one. All right, but I don't want to talk about baseball. Some of y'all get annoyed that I talk about baseball or anything other than wrestling on the show, so I don't want to anger the audience here. So, Bad Blood 04. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bad Blood 04. I remember that. I remember that very much. I remember that as being kind of the standard bearer for Hell in a Cell matches outside of the 97 Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, which still to me is just the best. Better than Mick Foley's pop off the top and in 98, and better than Mick Foley and Cactus Jack and Triple H when he came out of retirement. Really all that. To me, that's the number two. This Bad Blood of Triple H and Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell. Just a masterpiece. And yes, I think it went 45 to 50 minutes, but my God, it was perfect. That's a masterpiece. I would even say that match was better than Drew and Punk. I'd say Drew and Punk's a number 3. So if I was going to rank them, it'd be Taker, Shawn, 97. It'd be Shawn Michaels, Triple H, 04. And then it would be Punk and Drew of 2024. And that's kind of how I'd rank it. I would totally agree. You have to see the Bad Blood 04 match. I know it's a long match. In today's standards, it's an eternity of Shawn and Triple H going 45 to 50 minutes, nearly an Iron Man match inside Hell in a Cell. Just incredible. Incredible. I won't spoil who won. I was, as a fan of this person, I was sad that person lost, but wow. Just incredible. So totally agree. Great suggestion, DJ. We'll get to that Joe Hendry report in just a few moments. All right. So that might do it for the emails, but I know there's some of you on Patreon who have also messaged me. So we're going to get to those of you who have messaged me with inside Patreon. And I think we have one message here. This is, well, not really a mailbag thing, but we have Jeff who said, let's go Yankees and Mets, one step closer to Subway Series. Yes, we are. And honestly, anyone outside of the New York area doesn't really give a damn. Very few fans of pro wrestling, of Major League Baseball, outside of the New York metro area, even the North, I'd give it the Northeast, are going to give a damn about a Subway Series. However, the ratings are still going to be through the roof because you're going to have people who are in the New York metro area, one of the most heavily populated areas in the entire country, tune in while they otherwise wouldn't. So you're still going to do massive ratings if it's New York versus New York in this in the series. But quick prediction there: I don't think the Yankees are going to make it. I don't trust them. I think the Mets will make it. I think the Mets will make it to the Subway or to the World Series. I think the Yankees, I don't trust their offense. They've been so inconsistent all year. They don't have any of their big guys hitting right now. Kansas City is a historically bad offensive team. Well, at least they have been over the last several months. They have good starting pitching, but not dominating starting pitching. Their bullpen's a strength, but I don't trust the offense at all. And I have said that time and again. So I believe the Yankees will probably lose in 6 to either the Tigers or the Indians or Cleveland, the Guardians, whatever. And I think the Mets will make it. Even if it's the Dodgers or Padres, I think they have a better chance of beating the Dodgers than they do the Padres. But if the Mets make it, I think they'll have to go the distance in 7 games and win in 7. So there you go. It's probably going to be a New York Mets World Series. But that's just my thoughts right away. I mean, what the hell do I know? All right. So if you all aren't tired of me talking about baseball, let's talk a little bit more about pro wrestling and get to those voicemails. We have a couple, and then we'll close the show. So let's do it.
Podcast world, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name. As I take it to my 13th episode of the Joe Hendry Report, nothing new to report here on Joe Hendry, but I must mention that TNA Pro Wrestling is getting back to rescheduling their TV tapings after what happened with the events that transpired with the hurricane from a week ago. So now we're going to be able to see some episodes coming up this week from TNA Pro Wrestling, and one of the episodes will feature Joe Hendry in a 6-person tag team match, which I will mention next week on the Joe Hendry Report. But speaking about Joe Hendry, we're getting ready for Bound for Glory on October 26th. All roads lead to Detroit, Michigan, as none other than Nick Nemeth, or aka Dolph Ziggler, the TNA World Champion, will defend his championship against Joe Hendry. Now, with that being said, on a very abbreviated Joe Hendry Report, always remember to believe. Say his name. Remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, and any show. Let's go, Mets! And always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
DJ, yeah, quiet week for Joe Hendry, but that's okay. You can't have every week be a blockbuster week. And Nick Nemeth, yeah, Dolph Ziggler, TNA World Champ. I mean, I don't watch any TNA, but that's an interesting little tidbit too for those that are wondering what the hell Dolph Ziggler or Nick Nemeth is doing. He's in TNA, be doing big things over there. So if you want to go watch him, of course, feel free. And it's kind of interesting when you see with the talent leave WWE to see what side of them they show you that they weren't able to show you in WWE. If they felt so, oppressed, or they felt like they were tied down or restricted or whatever, they get to do that and show who they want to be in other promotions, and you get to see who Dolph Ziggler didn't get to show you in WWE. So thank you, my friend. We'll get to our next voicemail right now.
Hey, Brad in Florida. So a couple quick points about Bad Blood. Number one, boy, they couldn't pick to have that on a worse day with college football, the Major League Baseball playoffs, and not just the Major League Baseball playoffs, but at the same time, you had the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Padres. I mean, some of the biggest markets in this country all playing at the same time, in addition to college football, and they started at 6 p.m. Just a strange start time, but the Cody Rhodes band on the entrance, I just have to bring this up, was so bad. That was like, especially when they started playing his actual song, but the idea was that the band was going to play along with the song. It sounded like you gave a bunch of kids instruments and they were just messing around in the background and ruining the song and just playing really loudly, off-key, and off-beat while that song was playing. It was super weird and like one of the worst collaborations between a theme song and live musicians you could ever have. It was just atrocious. It is weird seeing Roman wrestle as a good guy. It's just a weird thing to see, like the crowd like loving him, and you almost want to see him cheat and it just doesn't happen. Like it's just, I don't know, just kind of weird. But regardless of that, I think the Liv Morgan finish, Matt, was weird. Like, the ref's back was turned when Raquel attacked Rhea and while she attacked her in the ring. I think that was a mistake that they rang the bell and they just had to go along with it for the disqualification. And then afterwards in the press conference, they're all congratulating Liv on her victory. Everyone, all the press and everyone. So I think it was just a mistake. Like, I think there was a point where Rhea was supposed to get pinned and they had to do a pivot because they rang the bell. But clearly the ref didn't do anything because the ref was distracted. So I don't understand. That was just a really weird and bizarre and flat way to end that match. I just didn't like that at all. But Liv Morgan is incredible. She is doing so good. She is really like one of the most, if not the most interesting people on the roster right now. Just her acting, her everything is so awesome, in my opinion. I think she is doing incredible. I'm happy she keeps the belt. But I thought that finish sucked and was really bizarre. Cody's entrance was an absolute joke, and that band was horrendous. Do not rehire them. Boy. Thanks, man. Bye.
Hey, Brad. I'm not sure where you are in Florida. If I recall, I think you said you were in northern Florida, but if you're affected by either of the hurricanes, hope all is well there. It's been nuts down there. So as far as Liv Morgan, let me go backwards. I would concur. I mean, anybody that looks at Liv Morgan would say, whether you love her character or hate it, it has been the most successful year, or really last couple months of her career have been the most successful, bar none. And it has a lot to do with her finding herself. Exactly who and what Liv Morgan is has now been defined. And in the ring, she's not going to blow anybody away in the ring, but she's championship worthy. Is she one of the greatest of all time in the ring? No, but her character and how good she is in that character and how believable she is in that character with Dom has more than made up for any weaknesses inside the ring. And sure, that whole mess of a finish with Rhea, that was a weird finish with Raquel Rodriguez. I mentioned that on the review show of Bad Blood. I mean, it made no sense. And also it made sense in the sense that they were trying to give Liv an out, that it was a DQ. She didn't actually get pinned, but Raquel clearly forgot to finish too, because at the end of her giving a Tejada bomb to Rhea, it was sloppy, number one. Number two, she put Rhea on top of Liv. If she was remembering the finish correctly, she wouldn't have done that. Even Michael Cole covered for her by saying, Raquel is putting Rhea on top of Liv symbolically. It's, obviously a bunch of nonsense, but Cole doing his job. Nothing wrong with that. And so it was just a sloppy finish. We'll have to see what happens here with Raquel, if she actually flourishes in a heel role. I think she will, because her babyface role was just unwatchable. She, her coming out, if you remember, with like flexing her back as if we're all supposed to be incredibly impressed with how muscular or toned her back is or something, I guess. Very, 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 very proud of that piece of her body was her back. Weird, right? I don't know. And so she is obviously in the same ballpark of strength as Rhea. So this is going to be an interesting challenge for Rhea Ripley. And but thanks, Brad. Hope all is well down there and you're staying safe. Let's get to our last voicemail.
Ask the French guy here, your current European champion. I wanted to talk about a little bit about why I like wrestling, because lately it's been kind of difficult days, to be honest. Not super difficult, like nothing health related, a little bit, but not, a little bit. But what I wanted to talk about is the reason of why I like wrestling and maybe why you like it too. Why I asked myself that question is exactly because my father, I've known my father since, I've known him for a very long time, since I was born. And since I was born, my father has been watching a TV show from the USA, actually. It's a romantic, love story. That's a soap. I don't know. I think it's a soap series. In French, it's called Les Feux de l'amour, Amour, Gloire et Beauté. And I think in the US, it's called, wait a minute, Luxembourg, wait a sec. The Bold and the Beautiful. Yeah, The Bold and the Beautiful. My father's been watching this all his life, basically. And I've been comparing this to myself watching wrestling. And I think we do watch it for maybe not the same reason, but a little bit. I think there's a sense of comfort watching it, because life goes through changes, through tough times, sometimes good times as well. But the one constant for him, I think, is this series, The Bold and the Beautiful. And for us wrestling fans, we see growing superstars and we see the show every week. And I think for us, it's a sense of comfort when life goes wrong, when life goes good. You can escape yourself watching the product. And I think for this sole reason, I like wrestling. And I think it's a good thing for people that are struggling in their lives, for, escaping in a good way, watching good stories, entertainment. So for all of this, thank you wrestling and thank you WWE. So just a little bit of thought today. Bye guys.
Alex, interesting, deep question. One that I'm sure we could dive into for an entire episode, and I'm sure that everybody else has their own answers. Yeah, so you are watching wrestling for an escape, essentially. It's a constant, it's a comfort, it's a place in an area in your brain that you can go that is safe, right? A familiar place that's safe, that you don't have to worry about any stress, judgment, responsibility. You just watch and enjoy. Right. But I mean, that really you could apply to any form of entertainment that you enjoy. movies, TV shows, video games, YouTube, just generally, like, or TikTok, however many hours we all spend scrolling that thing. So I think those principles apply to any form of entertainment. I think what is unique about pro wrestling that fans get drawn to is characters. Now, characters are in all TV shows, right? I mean, that's how you get drawn in emotionally. But with pro wrestling, it's also a show that doesn't stop. There's no off season. It's something that you can constantly see what happens next. There are very few things in this world with forms of entertainment that have gone on as long as pro wrestling. The characters that are the most successful are also based in reality. You can also, what makes it unique about pro wrestling, and what I think draws it even deeper for wrestling fans than it does for other forms of entertainment, you can go there live. You can interact. You can be a part of the show. Whereas a lot of forms of entertainment we watch, like I said, YouTube, TikTok, movies, TV shows, you can't go to the studio. You can't sit in the stands or in the production area and start cheering it. No, it's live, man. You get to go on a live show and you get to see these people who you might be living vicariously through, and you get to interact with all the different, not just live events, but the meet and greets, right? You find a character that you relate to, and you're able to actually go see them in person. That's what makes this unique compared to other forms of entertainment. And sure, you may say, well, baseball does that, football does that, soccer does that. LOL to soccer in the US. I mean, it's not really a sport here. But you get my drift, right? Even golf here, you can go and see these people perform. But it's not year round. There are seasons for these different types of entertainment. Even with your favorite TV shows, sure, you can go back and watch old episodes. But there are seasons. You have to wait like a full year for the next episodes to come out, right? So wrestling is unique in that way. It also doesn't have any boundaries. You can have a love story. It's not defined in just action, right? That's a part of it, and it's a big part of it. And the wrestling matches themselves do matter. But it's also drama, like you said, the bold and the beautiful. It's sometimes love stories, like some of the soap operas that a lot of women watch. It's action adventure. It can be horror at times with some of the characters, a la Bray Wyatt or the Wyatt Six, which have kind of gone into obscurity lately. But it's kind of everything. Very few forms of entertainment that are successful are everything. It's very difficult to do because you're serving everyone and no one. Right? When you're trying to be everything to everyone or have everyone find a piece of the show they like, that's difficult to do, to keep that person hanging on to the one piece of the show they like. But pro wrestling manages to do it. It's a part of pop culture. Even not just in the US, but across the world, as you're seeing now, from France, from Germany, Australia, worldwide. It's a global reach. It's not just fans that are passionate in the United States or Canada. Granted, a lot of the fans are here. Most of the fans are here. But especially as of late, WWE has done a great job of trying to expand globally. You're seeing that in the last couple of years with them doing a lot more PLEs overseas. They have a clear global strategy that they're trying to implement that Vince did not implement, or he did, but it was kind of lackadaisical. Oh, we'll occasionally do a UK Raw. Yeah, we'll do one here, there. Triple H is like, nope, we're doing like 4 months overseas. 4 PLEs in a row overseas. And that's fine. I mean, it's a global strategy, which he's trying to grow the brand. Not just Triple H, but everybody involved. I say Triple H is like the face, but everybody involved. So, yeah, it's a place that you can go. And that's why they were so important during the pandemic. They were a constant that even when the world went away, wrestling was still there. Different. There were no fans there. There was no the soul of wrestling was taken away, but it was still there. And it's something that once it pulls you in, it's got this X factor that it's hard to let go. Even though, like you said, sometimes you're finding it hard to love it at times. We all are. But you know what? Funnily enough, we all still watch. Even when it's like, oh, we just sit and complain about the shows, and you've heard me complain a million times. A million times. Sometimes to my own fault. But yet, we're still watching. So we complain, but yet we're still watching. So do we really hate it that much? If we hated it so much, we wouldn't keep watching. We'd say, "Oh, screw it, I'm coming back. I'm done." Right? And you hear that a lot of those empty threats from fans. "Oh, this is so stupid. I'm done watching wrestling." And then the next week they're on Twitter like complaining about whatever happened. It's like, "Oh, okay, so you're still watching," But it's got this effect that you never know what's going to happen next. They've got stars of yesteryear that they pull in every now and then, like The Rock. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain sometimes of why wrestling is just so gravitational and why some people watch it for 30, 40, 50 years of their lives. But once you're a fan, it's hard to say that, yeah, I stopped watching a while ago. You have people from the Attitude Era say that, but then they come back and they're like, yeah, I took like a 10-year break and now, I have to catch up on all this content, but now I can't stop watching. And there are going to be seasons that just suck. Seasons of wrestling that you hate. But you still watch because it's an escape. So, all right. Well, that'll do it. And I will be back on Sunday for my weekend review. But we've got the SmackDown review coming to you tomorrow. And so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. We've also published the NXT review a couple days ago if you want to check that out. Maybe a nostalgic show here and there thrown in. And I encourage you everybody to check it out. And follow me on Twitter or X at wrestling_audio, or just search the WWE podcast. You can also go ad-free on Patreon, ad-free on Apple Podcasts. And that's going to do it for me, everybody. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.